you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Happy to be back to share with you actually what I do. I hope I give you a nice introduction earlier today. So I'm going to go right into it. As we recall, and thank you for the questions that were just mentioned earlier, basically there's a direct connection between the fall of Muslim Spain and the rise of the Turks or the Ottoman Empire. So just like we said, 1492 is the fall of Granada, 1453 is Constantinople and the Istanbul. So there's a direct connotation between the two. This Ottoman rise is a big fear in Europe. Remember, there is two sides to the Crusades, Eastern and Western. So now we're finishing the chapter of Islam in Europe in the West. We have to focus on Islam in Europe, East into the East. So the vision is like, this fall of Constantinople is huge because it actually gave rise to my entire work and research. I am specialist in a group of people called crypto-Muslims. Crypto-Islam or crypto-Muslim was born out of this entire experience. When the Muslims in 1501 ran to the Ottomans and asked for support, there's a famous poem, I urge you to look it up, published by James Monroe in '66, about, it's in Arabic and in Spanish, about how, basically, what's the treatment of Muslims 1501 onwards. So, because of this long poem, yes, thank you. So because of this long poem, we have a promise given to the Spanish Muslims that the Ottomans are coming from the east. So basically what they told them is the following. If you are patient and you kind of hush-hush underground, we're going to come and liberate you in X amount of time. Well, the Muslims didn't know that the Ottomans were going to be halted in Vienna in 1683. And so imagine from 1501 to 1683, we have hope of liberation of the Ottoman Turks, and they're coming. And how do we know about this? Is the entire 16th century, the Spanish authorities are writing about Muslims in Spain being the traitors, the ones who will bring the Ottomans in. Sure, is it too strong? Sorry. So the whole connection between the Ottomans and Spain is crucial to understanding of this crypto-Islam concept. The second reason why crypto-Islam was born is there was a fatwa offered in 1504 by the Mufti of Wahran in Algeria. So the Mufti, basically, based on the description of how life was in Spain, he said, no problem, if you have to eat pork, you could eat pork. If you maybe shower once a day, that counts towards your wudu for the whole day. So kind of he gave a modification to practicing Islam under tough times. And I told you earlier this morning that the position of leaving Spain was kind of impossible, because if you have to leave your business, your home, your money, that's one thing. But if you have to leave your wife and your children and your mom and your sister and all the women in your family have to stay, but you gotta go, that makes it really hard. Another thing I want to highlight that also connects the Ottoman Empire to Spain is the Hagia Sophia, because Hagia Sophia was a transformation of, this was the most important church in Christendom in the Eastern Roman Empire. So the fact that it became a mosque was a huge earthquake in Europe. And because of that, every single mosque in Spain was transformed to a church to pay back. So Hagia Sophia payback is the loss of every mosque in Spain. They call it today La Mezquita Iglesia, whether it's Cordoba, whether it's Sevilla, whether it's Toledo, Granada. The other thing that happened is also, and I was speaking to my colleagues during break, about one thing that I consider the biggest crime in this story, it's the burning of the text. Looking at all these libraries and all this knowledge that you saw from science and all these scientists came from Spain, and then just burning books just because they are in Arabic text. Arabization was such a big shock to the European system. So the edicts of prohibition of the Arabic language began in 1526. There's another edict in 1570 to implement the banning of the Arabic language. So remember, I'm a linguist, and I'm chasing words, and I'm chasing manuscripts. So I'm looking at the leftover. Everything I did in my research was what's left. Okay, so they destroyed the public bath. People could not do wudu, ghusl, shower. What else? They destroyed the knowledge. So this is my topic. I came to find who are those people in that painting that were on the other side. So I zoomed in on them. And one thing I noticed is they're not called Muslims. I can call them Muslims, you can call them Muslims, but they're not called Muslims. They're called Moors, Moro, they're called Mudéjar, and they're called Morisco when you're in Spain. And I'm going to show you what they're called in New Spain. So in Spain, Moro is somebody who comes from Mauro or from North Africa. So it's a geographic term. The person who crossed over from North Africa is the Moro. So, i.e., those strangers who came over. Mudéjar is a slight degradation because Mudéjar is the person who is Muslim, lives under Christian king, pays taxes to the Christian king in return for freedom of religion. So, they tell you that Mudéjar is the same concept of jizya, that Muslims implement jizya for Jews or Christians, but actually it's not. Because jizya, nobody pays in return of freedom of religion. They pay because they are exempt of military participation. So you don't have in a Muslim army Christians or Jews participating, and therefore the males who are supposed to be in the army pay al-jizya to receive protection of the Muslim army. That's the al-jizya concept. Now hop into Mudéjar concept. Mudéjar is you pay money, tributes, tributos, to the Christian king. Remember, this is the Muslim king, this is the Christian king Fernando. He's paying him now in return of keeping the mosque, burying your dead the Muslim way, marrying someone the Muslim way, etc. It's a degradation, but today that term is the only term that you find. If you want to talk about Islamic art, it's called Mudéjar art. If you want to talk about architecture, it's called Arquitectura Mudéjar. And you ask somebody in the School of Architecture, I give a course in the School of Architecture, Colegio de Arquitectos in Mexico City. All my students were architects. They have been studying architecture their whole life, and they never knew that Mudéjar was Islamic art. They were shocked. And actually they were sharing with me that the top 5 architects in Dubai and Middle East are Mexican architects. And they were wondering why. They were like, whoa, now we finally know that we are experts in Islamic art. We just didn't know it's Islamic. They call it Mudéjar. So you can imagine the masking of the naming, the way I like to call it is unnaming. So Moro goes to Mudéjar, and you think this is the worst, but it's not. It goes down to Morisco. So Morisco is the Christianized Muslim, i.e. ex-Muslim. You've been forced to accept baptism starting 1501. So now you go to this Christianized concept. There's paintings that show you who are the Moriscos, but also this is the beginning of crypto-Islam. You know, this is not cryptocurrency. I'm not here to talk about that, but I want to tell you about crypto mosque, and I want to tell you about crypto Muslims, okay? So in my PhD studies, I became a specialist in a specific genre of documents, because remember, I'm chasing paper, and I'm chasing who are those people who survived, and how do I know where they are except with paper? There's no other evidence. I'm doing paper trail. So I found those documents written in Arabic script, but it's not Arabic, it's Spanish. So very interesting. As a linguist, I've got some form of Arabization in text, but the language is Spanish. So it was my job to explain the deterioration of language loss until we got to that stage of language loss, okay? And I want you to remember this because I'm going to show you what I found in Mexico, which is the opposite process. I found Arabic written in Latin script. So I want you to remember, okay? So this would be del galardón de los sabios, dijo un recontador, quien demandare por camino y carrera, aderezale Dios, adelcatel, a un camino de los caminos. Do you see with me? Are you with me? Okay, looks Arabic, but it's actually Spanish. These are two hadith that mention the importance of what? Seeking knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Good knowledge. Stay with the scholars, sit with the good people. If you sit with somebody that's good, it's like perfume. If you sit with someone who's going to give you bad knowledge, it's like sitting with, someone who's blowing dust on you. Again, two hadith translated, very beautiful in Spanish, extremely nice, but wow. Now I hop to New Spain. So up until here, I was doing my PhD work. I finished, I graduated, and then I'm presenting in Mexico City. I got invited several times to Mexico City to present, and I was so scared. I was like most of you guys who think I'm gonna get kidnapped or whatever, something bad's gonna happen, and I was decline, until one day I was making dua that something would happen good on the next day, and I received at 8 o'clock in the morning this email inviting me, and I accepted at 8:05. I said, I'm coming. And I didn't know that when I'm gonna present this work, I will get a postdoctoral fellowship on the spot. 4 universities contacted me on the spot, and they said, you're not leaving because, hey, we've got documents in Mexico and no one has ever looked at them. So why don't you come and see what we have? And I said, what? Mexico? Are you out of your mind? I don't think they came. They died, they were expelled. I know this story from Spain. Now I had to explore what happened on the other side of the Atlantic, which is, oh my God, did they cross the Atlantic Ocean? So, just to rephrase, it's not called Mexico, it's called La Nueva España. England, New England, Hampshire, New Hampshire, Spain, New Spain. So what's New Spain? South US, look at the region. I want you to look at the map with me. South US, Mexico, Guatemala, all the way to the Philippines. The Philippines was reigned by Mexico City all the way until independence. Independence is 1820s. So we're talking about this entire region, right? Where all of this is called La Nueva España. Well, the capital of La Nueva España is Mexico City. And why do I care about Mexico City? Is because, again, remember, I'm hunting documents. There's 3 centers of documents in Latin America. The 3 centers are Mexico City, Cartagena, Colombia, and Lima, Peru. I went to Lima to research, and in Lima, unfortunately, the archives burnt 3 times. So they have very little documentation. I haven't been to Cartagena yet. If anybody wants to join, I would love to go and dig the archives. But Mexico City, I was there for 1 year postdoc, and I asked for an extension because I couldn't believe what I found. I couldn't imagine that I would find something. I'm gonna show you how I searched, and I'm gonna show you what I found. So we know the territory. So Hernán Cortés comes in this territory in 1521, and the passage of Spaniard or Spanish Muslims was banned. There was a law to ban Muslims from crossing. So I asked the question, how did they cross if it was banned? And the other question is, where did they cross from? So there's only one place in Spain where you can cross, and it's the port of Sevilla. You hop on the boat and you off to America, okay? So that's me, you guys. researching the archives in Mexico. So Islam in New Spain or colonial, they call it also colonial Mexico. These are the two terms, right? Colonial because the mom is Spain colonizing the entire region, so they haven't gotten their independence yet, so that's why we're looking at colonization. Everybody's with me? Yes? Okay. So we have the presence of Islam in Spain, diaspora of Spain, demonstrated through the creation, development, evolution of laws and edicts. I'm going to show you laws that banned Islam. And I'm going to tell you how many laws that banned Islam and Muslims. I'm also going to show you Inquisition cases where the victim who was accused was Muslim. And I'm going to tell you what the crimes are. I'm also going to show you maybe I'm going to show you marriage proceedings. There was some that had a wife in Guadalajara and another wife in Puebla. So this concept. Okay? And I think let's hop right in. My research in Mexico is 1570 to 1820. Well, I wanted to know what they look like. So I found that they have these portraits where they show you that this kind of marriage gives you someone morisco. So I chased them down. I went from paintings to find them. Where are they in the social strata? Are they up here? Are they down here? Are they in the middle class? Who are they? So I found that if you mix a Spanish with a mulatto is like from African descent, then you get a Morisco who's like a Muslim. I was like, very interesting. I'm gonna hunt these guys down. Looked at the social pyramid, tried to find them, and actually asked the craziest question. Could the Muslim infiltrate the church? Is it possible that they protected their people through infiltrating the church? And believe it or not, I took a course in the university, the Hebrew University in Mexico City, La Universidad Hebraica, about crypto-Judaism, and they in fact infiltrated the church and became the bishop of Mexico City. And they talked about the mechanism of infiltrating the church, the Jews infiltrating the church. So I asked the wildest question. Why not have Muslims also infiltrate the church? Is that a possibility? So, remember they're banned? They're not allowed to cross? Well, let's see. I found 3 groups of documentation. These are my documentation. Remember, legal documents or edicts that ban Islam. I found church documents or Inquisition cases. I have 2,500 documents. I was told, come and look at 200. I found 2,500. I have a whole research team in Mexico City who are fascinated by this, but I don't know. I hope you guys are fascinated, and maybe I can multiply my research team. Documents written by Muslims for Muslims. This was what I was really trying to find. I want to know that Muslims wrote and Muslims read. I was looking for this, okay? So here I am, National Archive, Sala 4, Inquisición. That's me. I come in and I do my keyword search that I know from Spain. Like, I got this. I, did my PhD in Spain and I know how to do this work. Well, guess what? They're not called anything that I would know. They're not Moros, they're not Mudéjar, and they're not Morisco. So I was driven absolutely crazy. How do I find these guys? Well, why not call them Muslims and make it easy, and just why invent the terminology? I found 35 terminologies to call Muslims. They were called los seguidores de la secta de Mahoma, Mahometanos, Mahometizantes, Mahomedes. I found sometimes Otomanos, Sauríes, Ismaelitas, Sarracenos, Elches, hijos de Elches, Bereberes, Bereberiscos, Agareños, Ismaelitas, Ismaelíes. And I also found the Prophet Muhammad was never called Muhammad. Oops, he was called other things, but you can't see it. Mahometu, Mahometicam, Mahometicarum, Mahometus, anything but Muhammad, anything but Muslims. So before you guys wore masks, my job imposed on me to wear a mask. So I already had masks when COVID came, because that's how you hit the archives. You need a mask, you need your gloves, and that's how you could touch and access your documents. So I want to show you the edicts. They're very large documents that were read in the public plaza for people to basically say what are the things that are banned. 280 laws to ban Islam and Muslim along 250 years. So we have a 200, remember I told you the Inquisition lasted 250 years? Do you remember the morning? In those 250 years, every few years they publish the law and they have the edict. So my question was, okay, I had a theory and the theory was down the drain. My theory was, I'm gonna find a lot of Muslims in the 16th century and as time goes, they're gonna disappear. Well, my theory was wrong. Because remember in the morning I told you, archive make history, not history make the archives? So, at the beginning there were very little documents, 16th century more, 17th century boom. And I was like, what? Really? You are booming in the 1700s, 1701, 1705, 1708, 1709. I was like, what is happening in the 1700s? Why are Muslims popping in this? What's going on in the 1700s? So here we go. These are the edicts. They call the Edictos contra la secta de Mahoma. And so the edict goes like this. And of course, you know, it's long description of if you find somebody, you know, praying towards Al-Qibla or doing Salah right here or fasting the month of Ramadan or doing waduk, the wudu or whatever, or washing their hands and their face and their legs and their arms and their ears, and they are Muslims and they're banned. This is the Museum of the Inquisition. So one of the things that were banned also are books. So I found that the Quran was a banned book. And I found also many times, I don't know if you could see my underline, but it says here, El Quran. I don't know if you could see it. Anyhow, I ran around 17 archives. I didn't just do Mexico City. I ran around the country because every time I hit an archive, researchers who are doing medicine and other areas, they tell me, oh, you're looking for Muslims? You're looking for Arabic texts? You should go to Guadalajara. You should go to Puebla. You should check out Oaxaca. You should check out, and I was like, this is too intense. Be easy on me. So I was here in a different archive. And this was a very interesting place because I found what Muslims look like. So, do you see this look, the hat, the beard, this setting? Well, now look at the guy with the turban. I'm going to show you the next slide. Okay. I'm with a Muslim audience. I want you to check this. And do you see anything that looks Islamic here? Can you notice something in this drawing? Códice de Yahuintlan, 1500s. The Misbaha, that's one, perfect. But also if you notice, it has the skin and the snakes of the local. This is America's pattern. This is not a pattern from Europe. Anything else? Tasbih, yes? Anything else? The Shahada, every single one has the finger of Shahada. Look at the finger of Shahada, right? You see this? All right. And he's wearing the hat, no turban. Okay. Then I found another document. This is 1669, I think, if you can read it. 1693? Okay. And so it's called Lex Evangelica contra al Coranum. Okay, so this is verse by verse how you attack the theology of Islam. Like the Quran, verse by verse, the entire Quran, but it's the counter Quran. So my question is, why do we have in the 1600s a text to undo the Quran? Like who's reading the Quran and why do we care to undo the Quran? So now I'm sitting in the archive and they're telling me, we have a box in the back that might be interesting for you. Do you want to check it out? And I said, yeah. So they take out this box with cotton. I take out this manuscript. It's a snakeskin manuscript. And I start unrolling it. It's an entire Quran from beginning to end. Of course, I start crying hysterical. Can't believe what I'm watching. Like, this can't be true. So I asked, so the lady, the head of the archives, comes and she's the one holding it. I couldn't hold it. I was crying. I didn't want my tears to ruin the document. So I take out the other document, which is as big as a penny, a quarter. And guess what? The entire Quran from cover to cover. So then I decide I need to do my research team. This is my, introducing you, Daniela Mendez, my research assistant. And we start looking for more and more. So this is here, it says, Malvada secta de Mahoma. This person was executed because he comes from the evil sect of Muhammad. Okay? Right here, this person said, El Quran de Mahoma era bueno. So he's talking about how the Quran of Muhammad is a good book. Okay? This person here was Lutheran, Calvinista, but he was also Maometano. For some reason, he was everything, all of the above. Right here, this person says that El Profeta Mahoma es bueno y que Christ was false to the people. Then I found a very interesting document that was archived as Hebrew, but it's actually Arabic, from a nephew to his uncle in the jail of the Inquisition. It was Arabic letter, has a date, has a time, like you could see the date right here, and it's 1747. It's December 17. So I actually published this. I have, unfortunately, my publications are all in Spanish, but I need to translate my work. Here it is. I want to take you to this. This is the highlight. This is the document called Breviario Sunni. It has nothing to do with Sunnah and Shia. It's basically a manual of how to practice Islam in the Spanish language. I found what I was looking for. A document produced by Muslim for Muslim. I found it. And the day I found it, I was running around the archive. I did my tawaf like 7 times. I couldn't believe that I found this. So I found this, which is the opposite of my work in Spain. You can imagine as a linguist, this is crazy. To me, it's crazy. But anyhow, la oración del hamdu, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamina, ar-Rahman ar-Rahimi, maliki yawmiddini, Fatiha, and then down here, the translation in Spanish, que quiere decir, alabado sea Dios, Señor de la ley, a ti adoramos, tú eres nuestro refugio, guíanos por el camino recto, camino que prometiste a los moros y no sus enemigos cristianos, es el libro de Al-Corán. When I saw this, and this is la oración del falaqi, قل أعوذ برب الفلق, la oración de, and you can imagine, right here. So I was like, I can't leave this place. I got to publish this. So anyways, guys, for me to do a digitized copy of this document, to preserve it and publish it and get it out, I need funding. I'm straight up, because I was just sitting with the head of the archive last Monday, and I talked to her and I told her, I'm not leaving this document without digitizing. It's 200 pages that I promise you I'm going to digitize, and it will be published and translated. So, thank you to House of Wisdom for pushing me to do this, make my dream come true, which is create a documentary on this, and it's called Islamic Remanence in Colonial Mexico. I want to show you my team. This is a brother Juan Pablo Osorio from Houston. He's the executive producer. Daniela, my research assistant. Leticia, who is the guionista, who wrote the script. These are my camera people. This is my friend Alejandra, the head of the museum, who, mashallah, accepted to put an exhibit together for all these documents in Mexico City. So she approved it and told me, and she allowed us to film in her museum all the interviews for the documentary. So this is my team. We actually filmed the edict. I have a friend of mine who's an actor. He dressed up as a priest, and we read the entire edict to ban Islam and Muslims. Right here, if you can recall. And we dressed up our executive director. We were looking for someone who looks Muslim, and the entire team believed that he's the best person. We dressed him up, and he was doing this at the museum, and I said, you're not coming out in this documentary doing those things. You better have a posture that works for somebody who is writing the document. And so he was doing his wudu here. When we were banning the wudu, he was filming his wudu scene. And here he is writing the manuscript and hiding it. So we have a scene. He's actually a retired Marine. And so he was acting very well the scene of hiding the document and hiding behind the wall. And it was just brilliant. And this is what the scene, these are the interviews. I interviewed architects, and they were talking about the importance of Islamic architecture, which, as I told you, is called Mudekhar architecture. I also found a minaret. They call it La Torre de Tlalpan, but it's a minaret of maybe a mosque. Inshallah, we buy this building and can bring it back to a mosque again at some point. I went to Cholula in Puebla to film this place because they called it Crypto Mezquita, the crypto mosque. And I wanted to prove to myself that it's a crypto mosque. It's in the direction of Mecca. I took out my phone and I said, I'm going to do my testing. And guess what? Yes, it's a crypto mosque. So this is what I wanted to show you from New Spain. My conclusions, I don't want to leave you sad. I actually want to leave you happy. So the loss of the part of history is a revival of what I see with Latino Muslims today. Like Juan Pablo Osorio is a Latino Muslim himself, and he joined the project because he felt inspired that he doesn't have to be Muslim, like change who he is, and he was uncovering pieces of his own identity. And he actually did his DNA testing. I challenged him. I said, you got to do your DNA. He found 1% from Arabia. Most of his DNA is a mix between Colombia, Spain, and West Africa. So definitely he follows the storyline. I wanted to show you that the point of this is not revenge and victimization, because these things don't happen, don't help us at all, like sit down and feeling sad for losing or hiding or any of those things. I actually feel like they were very successful Muslims because they were able to hide and succeed. They adapted. And Islam is very adaptable to time and place. We are very much, wherever you put us, we sprout. So as long as we're sprouting, I don't see any problem. And Islam is not alien to the DNA of, Latinos or even America. Lastly, this is my last slide. I ask all of you to pray, make dua for this documentary project, that Allah would accept from us with a sincere heart this kind of work, and that we are able to rewrite history, inshallah. I invite you all to watch this documentary when it's done, and thank you so much for your